G'day guys, today we are looking at Makita XGT sanders. But wait, on Tools, didn't we do that a few weeks ago? Yeah, we did, but we didn't do this one because this one wasn't quite available at that point in time. This is the BO006G, and it is a detail sander or delta sander, triangle sander, mouse sander, whatever you want to call it where you live. It's one of these triangle suckers. Now, if you haven't seen my first video on the sanders, it's up in the top corner and down in the description. In that one, we looked at the 125mm random orbital. We will also be looking at the 150 in the next video. That's right, 2 sander videos this weekend. And in tomorrow's one, as well as the sander, we will also be looking at this, the 5-meter extension battery cord dealie. And there's more than just the extension in this box, so you'll have to wait till tomorrow to see that one though. So this sander has a 3mm orbit as indicated by the big 3 up there on the top. So it goes in 3mm circles basically. When you take the pad off, it looks like this. Let's try and focus on that, and once we have, I'll turn it on and we'll just see if we can slow this down so you can see what's going on. That's the slowest speed. It's very vibrating. So that is what is making your pad shake about the place and sand your timber or whatever it is you happen to be sanding. Now the one I just showed you wasn't actually this model though. That was the BO005G, which comes with this shaped pad. But you don't need to buy one of each because this pad will fit on the bottom of this one. All you need to do, take off this shroud, just slides off like so. Then remove your pad with the 4 screws here on the bottom, and then you can just screw this one on, put on a dust shroud like that, and you're exactly the same tool. So you don't have to buy both. That goes the same with the random orbital in the background here, but we'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. So this cover thing here is basically, well, it'll help with a little bit of the suction with the dust, but it's mostly to stop you from banging into things. So, you know, when you're trying to sand up next to, say you're sanding up against skirting boards or something like that, and the edge of the pad keeps bouncing up against and hitting the side, damaging things, damaging paintwork. This is to help stop that. You do want to get in close though. Of course, like you just saw, you can just slide that off so you can get into different angles if you need to. And the same, of course, goes with the rectangular pad. If you do buy the pad, however, to go on here, say you've bought this one, the 06, you've got the Delta pad, you want to buy this rectangular one, it doesn't actually come with this. Unfortunately, that's, I guess you have to order that separately. And that goes the same if you have the 05, which comes with this one. You want to change it to the Delta pad, then you need to get one of those separately somehow because they don't come with it. If you're not worried about that, it's not a deal breaker as far as I'm concerned, because chances are, haven't used it yet, but I reckon a lot of the time I wouldn't want that even on there because it might get in the way of me getting up as close as I want to things. Never had one before on my sanders like the one in the background there, so we'll see, we'll see. Anywho, just like all of them, it is 6,000 to 10,000 RPM via the dial on the side here. It's 40 volt, of course. This one's 3mm orbit. In this part of the world, you'll get the dust extractor vacuum dealie here. Goes on your hose for your vacuum, of course. You will also get a 1.6 meter battery adapter. What's it? Clips on like so. And there is, of course, the 5-meter one that you just saw, which you'll see in tomorrow's video. And it also comes with an armband. If you want to clip the lead out of the way, you can hook this around your arm, clip the lead into that, so that it's running up your arm and not dangling around your work area. That is particularly good if you happen to have this with a backpack harness, backpack vac. So you can get a harness that will hold a backpack vac and hold the battery unit and everything for this, and has hooks and everything to hold the cables and everything. The cable, of course, can clip into here as well. And that also comes with a hook which you screw in the side of the tool here, and a carabiner to clip onto the harness, so that you're just a walking sanding sucking machine. But I don't have that to show you today, but that does come in the box with this and with this in this part of the world. Might be slightly different where you are. Also in this part of the world, you'll get the protector for the pad, That just helps stop your pad from getting damaged when you are using a mesh sanding pad like the one that comes supplied in the box like this. And almost forgot, you of course also get a nice fabric dust bag like this. When it comes to the dust extraction, you have this dust extraction port thing that just screws on the back there. You can use that and just swap between sanders as you go for your extraction. But if you've got the standard rubbery one here, this cuff will also fit over the top. It just needs a little bit more of a tweak, and once it's there, you're all good to go. So you don't have to use that, but it does come supplied, so whatever. Right, now I've bought some cheap mesh sanding pads here, which are like slightly smaller than the proper ones. So a little bit different in size, but hey, it'll be fine for our test. So yeah. Not quite right. I'm going to just compare it to this, which is the quarter sheet slash delta sander thing as well from Makita 18 volt. As you can see, this pad, quite different, has the triangle shape, but it's rectangular on the back. So you can put one of these little delta pads on the front and a rectangular bit there if you wish. We'll just stick the rectangular ones on the front that I just showed you, like this, and we'll compare and just see how much better the 40 volt is, because I'm pretty certain the 40 volt is going to be better, because this one here isn't much chop, if I'm honest. Time for the 18 volt. I've chucked the pad saver on there. I'm not going to bother really hooking it up to the vac because it's only those two tiny little holes there in the top that are, you know, as you can see, not even underneath the tool. It's got to suck through the actual pad. Yeah, so it's never been that great for the dust. So anyway, we'll bung on a new abrasive disc and get to it. It's actually working much better than I thought it would. Let's try it on some flat areas. In tomorrow night's video, you'll see some swirl marks on these boards from the random orbital. I'm not going to use these two sanders, the 18 volt and the 40 volt detail sanders, just to try and tidy those up a bit. But first, let's just see how they do on some dirty stuff here. Gets the job done. Doesn't suck the dust up very well. Hardly surprising. So the pad itself has clogged up a lot more. And it doesn't have AWS, so the vac hasn't turned off. Wow, you really notice the weight difference once you pick this up compared to that 18 volt. That 18 volt, so heavy compared to this, because this, of course, no battery on it. Right, let's go. Full speed. No contest. This was doing a thinner piece of wood and took much longer to do that one piece of wood than it did to do these two with this. That's just cutting through it so much quicker. I would say that was, what, about 4 times as fast. And this is nowhere near as fast as the random orbitals, but boy oh boy, yeah, that was much faster than the 18, much more comfortable to use, less vibration going into your hand, and much lighter. Just no comparison really. And the dust extraction on this, far superior. But the real lesson is, make sure you keep up with oiling so that you don't have to get rid of all this sort of moldy looking old grey stuff. Keep oiling it, oil it every summer if you can, and then you won't have to sand it so much. Note to self. Right, I'm going to get the random orbital out now and finish this off, and hopefully I'll get it oiled before the end of the video, but the weather's not great. It's raining on and off, so might not get that done. We'll see. I'm not sure how well these swirl marks are showing up here on the camera, but they're pretty bad, so I'm just going to give it a quick going over with the detail sander here and see if we can get rid of those. Well, it's helping get rid of them, but it is leaving some other smaller swirls. What I've learnt today is, don't buy this brand of mesh pads. They're nowhere near as good as the Merkel ones. Tell you what they are at a moment, back at the workbench. Now these were the only mesh pads I could find when I went out to buy them the other day. I need to make sure I get a slightly bigger one. These are 100 by 140, whereas I needed 100 by 150. Something to bear in mind, not a massive problem, especially when you've got the saver pad on there, but worked brilliantly on that beveled edge that I, for some reason, put on all those boards before I attached them to the house, just to make my life difficult. Although I guess it's easier than trying to sand a rounded edge. Dust collection so far on this, maybe not quite as good as the random orbital, but that's due to shape and all sorts of other things, of course. Doesn't work in quite the same way due to like physics and shit. Especially seeing as you've got a big bit sticking out the front there, it's not going to be as good at sucking things through here as the other one, especially when you saw the inside of it. Much bigger area on this to catch the dust with this whole thing being round compared to this square one here. But I'm happy with it. It's a nice little unit, significantly faster than the old 18 volt as you saw. So with these new XGT sanders, I guess now I can get rid of all of this stuff. And even this, which incidentally, significantly heavier than the Makita without a battery on it. And this one, of course, you have the battery put on it. Let's just weigh them. So the Bosch without a battery, 1108 grams. The Makita, 979. It's about 130 grams heavier, the Bosch, and this one won't get much heavier because you're not putting the battery on it. This one, you stick like an 8 amp hour battery on there. It's a pretty heavy thing, not to mention it's rather back heavy. What about the old school 1063? One of the oldest Makita tools around was, well, it was before the Ds. You remember back in the Bs? Before all the star protection and all that sort of stuff? Now anyway, what was that? 1062, so nearly 100 grams lighter for the 40 volt and tons stronger. If you haven't seen my video where I compared it with that, I will stick that down in the description up there, bloody blah. And while we're here, we might as well do this one as well. Once again, 1084, whereas this one, 929, even lighter than the random orbital. So they're nice light units, which is very nice when you're sanding, especially if you're not doing it on a surface like a bench like this. If you're doing it on walls or above your head, you want the thing to be as light as possible because you usually got to do it for a fairly long length of time. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you want to see the 5 meter cord, I show that in the video for this one, which will be out tomorrow night. And the wall that you saw me sanding, that'll be in tomorrow night's video as well, finished hopefully. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you want Patreon down there, likes and stuff, you know, down there, subscriptions, you know, all this rubbish. It's all down there, blah de blah. See you later. Probably, well, definitely tomorrow. And then next week, there'll be more Makita stuff. See ya.